As active as well as retired police officers, we all know that you can buy gear from a lot of different places, especially online. But I want to remind you of the importance of supporting companies that support law enforcement. And I don't know a company that fits the bill more than Goals. Their motto is proud to serve those who serve, which they do every single day. And they walk the talk by supporting dozens of public safety focused organizations like Gold Shields. So when you are looking for gear, support our sponsor and go to goals.com. And Goals has done something special for our listeners. Go to goals.com and use the promo code GOLD15 and receive 15% off the next purchase you make. That offer is good until July 31st. Make sure you go to goals.com. Support them any way you can. Use the promo code GOLD15 and get a special 15% off your purchase.
Welcome to Gold Shields. Join NYPD veterans Tom Smith and Dan Murphy. With over 50 years of combined experience chasing drug lords, dismantling cartels, and hunting terrorists. Now they pull back the curtain, sharing raw, unfiltered stories from the front lines and the heroes who stood beside them. No topics off limits. This is real. This is true crime. This is Gold Shields.
Hey, welcome back to Gold Shields. This is Dan Murphy along with my partner in crime, Tom Smith. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great, man. Just another show, baby. Just rolling and rolling with these guests that make us look good.
Unbelievable. I don't know how we find people that want to be on our show, two knuckleheads, but we got lucky this week with a guy who I can't wait to start jumping into the conversation with him. But first, let's give a quick shout out to some of the people who help keep things going here at Gold Shield.
Yeah, you know what? Our premiers, goals.com, tacticalgear.com, part of our family, keep us going, and talk about two companies that really have the backs of law enforcement. They don't stop 24/7. The products they put out and the support that they throw at us is unmeasurable. Just check them out, goals.com, tacticalgear.com, and make sure you use the promo code GOLD15, get 15% off all your purchases. That's what they gave us. That's what they gave our listeners, our followers, everyone. GOLD15. Use that promo code and get some percentages off your items from goals.com and tacticalgear.com. You know what, Dan? Me and you have both had the honor and privilege of working with the DEA on different cases and different things. You more than me. I did a couple of cases. You did some really in-depth stuff, which I'm sure we will hit on in the show. But the one thing about the DEA, and we discussed this, they were like cops. You know, they were, and they are, I should say. They are cops. You know, probably the most law enforcement looking federal agency out there, you know, in what they do, between the investigations, the talent, the experience they have in going after the biggest drug dealers in the world. And we have one of those superstars and one of those legends here with us today. Jack Mcfarland did a ton, which we are going to get into on an agent level, on a supervisory special agent level, around the world, different countries. And we're thrilled to have Jack on Gold Shields today. Jack, it is a pleasure and an honor. Thank you for joining us, buddy.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Dan. I really appreciate being here. It's an honor to be on Gold Shields. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. So, all right. So now we've all got done telling each other how wonderful you are. Let's get down to the end of the show. That's way. Thank you very much. It's the wonderful.
We're done. There. Thank you.
So where did you grow up and what was your path to becoming a member of the DEA, which is, frankly, as Tom said before, I loved working with the DEA. I loved being in the task force with them. They were just a great organization to work for. And the scope and the scale and the mission are awesome. So what brought you there, Jack? How'd you get there?
Well, I really appreciate you, giving a shout out to the DEA. You really, really do. Believe it or not, I was a school teacher. I was born and raised just north of Allentown, Pennsylvania. I was a coal cracker in the coal regions of Pennsylvania. And I was following my footsteps of my father, who was, teacher, coach. And I was doing the same thing, going to be a teacher and also a football coach. So eventually I got into the, back was, I guess, around the late 80s. I ended up applying to the FBI and the DEA as a special agent. Both of them were kind of, we're kind of side by side through the process, through the program. And believe it or not, the DEA came calling, and I ended up spending 32 years with the DEA, and I never looked back. I really never did. It was just a wonderful, wonderful career. I got my grades, if you're familiar with the grade structure with the DEA, and I moved on up into the management supervisory level. And it was awesome. It really was. Do I miss it? Oh, absolutely. I did. I was one of those guys that at age 57, I was with the fingernails out the door. They were dragging me out basically, but I miss it. I really do. That's how I got to the DEA, as the boys down south call it, the DEA, the DEA.
You know why you miss it, Jack. Like Dan and I, aspects of the NYPD you miss because you loved it. And I've said this a million times. In order to do the job that we did at the level we did it, you have to love it. You can't like it. You have to love what you do. And when it's a struggle to leave is a testament of how much you loved it. And it's great hearing that, because it's a hard job to love, with what we have to go through. And it's a special person that does it. But, you got into DEA in like 87, 88. And what a time to get into the drug world, huh?
Out of control. Mm-hmm.
I agree with you guys, man. You guys were there, of course. Reagan was president. Meese was the attorney general. They were throwing money at the agencies left and right. Of course, that's when they started the big hiring push for the DEA back in 86, 87, 88 mark, and then get us on the streets. And because of George Senior's task force down south, of course. I didn't get one of those fancy assignments. I got an assignment. You're going to Philly, kid, so I had to go to Philadelphia, which was no problem whatsoever, man. I enjoyed Philadelphia. But you're absolutely right. And remember this, I'm sure you guys do, crack cocaine, how bad it was back in the 80s. Well, we were there. We were in the middle of it. We were definitely in the middle of it. And I really, and I appreciate the guys that I worked with. Where I started in Allentown as a young agent, right out of the academy, after doing Quantico, and I went to the academy for those 14 weeks or so. Then I went to Allentown, where my office of hire was. So I spent about a year there, but I knew I had to go to my office of assignment, which was going to be Philadelphia Field Divisional Office. So after about a year, I had to go down, and I ended up going to Group 3. Just like, you guys had the precincts and the houses and all that there. We had several groups in Philadelphia. And each group had their own designees. My designee was Group 3, which was cocaine, crack, and marijuana. So we were assigned we would go after those particular cases or those organizations. Group 2, back in the day, if I remember correctly, was heroin. Group 1 was methamphetamine. Group 4 was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or all a mismatch of interdictional groups, or also task force groups. Now, I'm trying to jog my brain, so this goes back many, many years. But I knew in Group 3, we had about anywhere from 12 to 14 weapon carriers, give or take, at any given moment. And we did a lot of really good work. We really did in the city of Philadelphia, in and around its suburbs as well. So
you mentioned crack, and I distinctly remember being a cop in a 3-0 in West Harlem, 1985.
Wow.
And I grabbed a kid. Drugs were everywhere, but I had never seen crack before. I'm out at night in a foot post, and I grab some kid who comes out of a building who's shoving something in his pocket. Everything about him says felony. So I grab him, and he's desperately trying to get away from me. And I reach in his pocket, and I pull out this big plastic bag filled with these little vials with red caps on them. I didn't know what it was. He was dying to get away from me. That's all I know. So I cuffed him up, called for a car, and I asked, what is this? One of the guy goes, it's some kind of cocaine. That's all. They just heard about it. And with that, everything changed.
Boom.
I mean, the violence went through the roof in no time. The amount of shootings, the amount of drug robberies, the amount of everything skyrocketed overnight. That's what crack did, right?
That's a very good point. That's absolutely. Crack cocaine was a cheap drug on the street, a nickel rock, a dime rock. A lot of times when we would do monitoring purchases of, say, in North Philadelphia, and we go up there, and sometimes they try to beat us for drywall because of the fact that it looked like drywall. Believe me, you crunch it up and you put it in the vials, it looked like drywall. So we had to do an immediate field test on it to see if it was in fact was it crack. So the pink over blue kind of action, we used to call it. So yes, you're absolutely right. But the majority of the bad guys slinging it were just the low level guys on the corner, and they were making wads of cash. wads and wads of money. And that's what it was in for. You guys know, you've seen it. You just explained a great story. And we, as DEA, were like, well, why are you guys supposed to be dealing with the higher echelon, drug trafficking organizations? Well, guess what? We had to start somewhere. And eventually, from a corner operation, we had a case from a corner operation. My partner and I, who was former NYPD detective back in the day, Frank, he was my senior partner. We went all the way down to Colombia. We followed the lead. We ended up having federal indictments out of Colombia, out of Calais, Colombia. I mean, think about that. From a corner in North Philadelphia. I mean, that's how cool is that? So, but it was one of those things with crack. And this is great that we're talking about this, because back then we didn't really get the pat on the back to take it out. And believe it or not, it's non-existent anymore. It's non-existent. So.
And, you brought up a great point with it leading to something, because, not a lot of people realize it. Some do, some don't, that the crack was coming from coke. I mean, the kilos is where the crack was being made from. So kilos went through the roof, and the price of that and the dealing of that, because they tripled and quadrupled what they were, using the kilo of coke on, with breaking it down to crack. And I remember, like Dan said, I ended up in the 3-0 as well, which anywhere from, 133 up to 215th Street was the drug capital of the world, especially in New York City, in Washington Heights and everything. They were doing kilo hand-to-hands on the corner of our precinct in sneaker boxes. That's how they did it. They were doing hand-to-hand kilo buys on the car. That's what the drug trade was up there.
Triple beam scales on top of the car.
Yeah.
At night, this summertime, waking out with look rally. Wow. And if you turn a corner in a radio car, they pulled it down, they put it back up. There's all kinds of observational tape. Surveillance stuff. Crazy.
A lot of good foot chases in those days, huh?
Oh, God. Oh, no doubt about it. Let's see, Jack, I wanted to, you touch on Philly, and along with the drug trade comes guns and violence. And you ran into a couple of situations in Philly with some pretty heavy duty shootings. Tell us a little about those.
We had two particular shootings I was involved with during my career. I mean, not that I'm proud of them, but, not trying to put the badge of honor out there. Never fired a shot, which was fine with me. But one particular one, I'll swing you back up to my first assignment. My office of hire was Allentown, Pennsylvania. And during that particular time in Allentown, we were helping the Pennsylvania State Police on an investigation. Undercover investigation was going to be a purchase. And it's going to be a purchase of, I believe it was 2 keys of coke. So what happens is the trooper who was working undercover, and believe it or not, he ended up becoming an FBI agent. We ended up becoming friends. He was working out of the Bethlehem barracks. And so we were at one of the malls up there in the Lehigh Valley. So he ends up going, and during his undercover operation, he ends up seeing the package, but he does a really, really dumb thing, essentially an incorrect thing to do, becoming from an undercover to becoming the arresting agent. Well, the guy didn't think it was so funny, so he's in a sport utility. He ends up backing out, and the trooper jumps on side of the SUV and lets a round go. Boom, 45 into the bad guy's thigh. Well, myself, I'm running with a trooper. Now, I'm brand new. Let's be honest. I'm 24 years old, out of the cab. My father used to always say, you're number of snot nose. You're snot up. You're knock it up. Okay, and snot nose. Yeah, I get that, right? So here I am with this older trooper, and we're in a Monte Carlo. And I've said this before. I say this again, is when you think you know everything, you don't know. You're just learning. So we're in this Monte Carlo. I'm in the passenger seat. We put the Kojak light on the dash. We come in nose to nose with the car. And during that particular time, we pin him in. Well, I end up being Joe Cool, Miami Vice. I go and I try to kick, those big doors in those Monte Carlo, like an 85 model. I go and kick that door. That door swings back, hits me, knocks me clear across the front seat of that car. And the trooper's like going, dude, come on, what are you doing? What are you doing? We got to go arrest this guy. I said, the door just hit me. And there I am with a pistol in my hand, a SIG. And thank God I didn't have the finger on the trigger. So I get out of the car, and we bring the defendant out, and we get him on the ground. We cuff him, and I noticed, I'm like, oh man, dude, this guy's bleeding. His blood is bleeding. I said, he's shot. He's definitely shot. So the trooper, he ends up rolling off the vehicle. He was fine, but and all in all, shootout. As we all know, when the trigger's pulled, The case file now has to grow. And now you're talking investigation. And the investigation was with the Pennsylvania State Police. Back in our day, we had to go before Internal Affairs. So I'm this young guy. I'm like, what am I doing? The other one was in Philadelphia, a little more involved. There was a couple of Jamaicans involved, and it was marijuana up in East Philadelphia. And it wasn't my case; it was another guy's case. And they did this search on the confidential informant. There was no weapon at that time. But what happened was the meeting goes inside the house with three of them. So now they get in a heated argument. That meeting comes out to the front lawn. Well, guess what? Three bad guys, one confidential informant, two bad guys, weapons are drawn. Gunfire starts. Our guys come flying in. Shots are fired downrange. One guy gets hit. Now the two bad guys get into a van, and they're trying to get to I-95 to get out of the city. So myself and two of the other cars, we do a careful follow on, and we're radioing ahead. And one of the most impressive things, and I take my hats off to the guys and gals that push the cruisers. I really do. We have what we call in Philadelphia the highway units, just like in New York. You guys have highway units. Leather jackets, boots, scrunched hats, the Gestapo belts, really looking sharp, right? I mean, just bad looking dudes and bad looking dudes, excuse me. So they love to roll with shotgun. They don't roll. They'll have the handguns. Back in the day, this is like maybe 89 or 90. And some even still had wheel guns. So they love the shotguns. So we're driving, we're following his van, and all of a sudden the blue and reds come behind us, southbound 95, and they're coming up the northbound lane at 95. I'm like, whoa. Stops the van, they get out, boom, they hit the van, get the bad guys out. All of a sudden, one of the highway guys goes, bomb, 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 bomb. We're like, what? So we back off the van. It was a sticks of dynamite put together, no device to blow it. But we don't understand what they were using it for. To scare someone. They were going to scare the CI or whatever, or CS. But eventually, we had to clear the location. And if I may continue, I'll get off this in a second.
No, keep
So
going.
we had to clear the location. We back off. They shut 95 down. Thank God it was 11 o'clock at night. The traffic, north and south, 5 lanes south, 5 lanes north. They shut it down. So we're standing there. It's myself and the two other agents. Okay, and we're Irish guys. We're Irish guys. Okay, there's a Mick this and a Mick that and an O'Reilly this. So all of a sudden we're standing there, and the head of the highway unit that at the time on the street goes, "Oh no, here he comes!" And we're like, "Who's coming?" The captain. I said, "The captain." I said, "It's 11 o'clock at night." I said, "What's the captain doing around these times of day, right? What's he doing?" So he comes out. The driver opens his door. I'm telling you, Tom, Dan, this guy must have slept in his clothes because he was so starched and so perfect. So he walks up to us, and the guy that was on the scene, I think, was a sergeant. He said, "Sergeant, who are these gentlemen right here?" And he said, "Oh, these are DEA guys. These are the ones that called it in. Needed some assistance. What's your names?" We said, Mcfarland. And this one says, I'll just say O'Donnell. And then this one says, O'Shea. He goes, fine Irish boys. And he walks away from us. Okay. His name was like McCormick or something like that, like, okay, Cap, like, I'm like 25 years old, 26 years old, going, what am I getting myself into here, So,
That story could have been said in the Bronx or Brooklyn. The same exact story, just a different city.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. And like I said, Dan and Tom, you guys, awesome. What you guys did back in your careers and that. But you sit back and you think of these stories, and pomp and circumstance. Once again, Internal Affairs came in. We had an interview for that darn thing. And in the city, man, the city gave us nice awards for doing what we did, and it was very, very, very nice. Made all the news in Philly at the time. But it was success. But when you step back and you say, why did this confidential informant have a weapon? Well, guess what? You didn't go in and search his house. That's where the deal went down. He had to put it on him because he felt that these guys were rough. I'm going to be rough because if they come and try to muscle me, I'm going to muscle them. Well, he was eventually blackballed, and that means no longer working for DEA and all that. So, but it was one of those things that particular case, Now remember, you're talking shooting one year, another shooting the next year. Then we got into disarmament the following year, and I'm like going, maybe I should go back to high school and be teaching safeties and receivers on the street. I mean, honest to God, right? I mean, I'm getting beat up. Like, what is going on here? Is this just a yearly thing or every 6 months kind of thing? But talk about learning experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. Philadelphia. Wow.
So narcotics work in general is dangerous. By its own nature, it's dangerous. With his guns and drugs and money, you're going to find powder kegs waiting to happen.
Great.
You got egos, you got criminals, you got greed, you got all of it, right? Like you said, greed is perfect. So at a level that the DEA works, understanding the mission of the DEA is not just to make street arrests, although it's a necessary part of it to develop informants to work cases, small fish to big fish.
Yes, sir.
The goal is to identify the sources of supply, wherever they may be, and to build a case against your sources of supply in various countries around the world, which takes you all over the place. But now the work starts getting really dangerous because you're starting to talk about going up the ladder, higher level people. You're doing wiretaps, you're doing surveillance, you're working and you're following and you're sending undercovers and informants in to meet with people who, if they had the slightest clue who they were, would kill them in a half a second.
That's exactly right.
They don't hesitate. So this is stressful work.
That's exactly right.
Even and you go out a lot, there's a lot of operations, a lot of buys, a lot of meetings, all this kind of stuff. And every time you go out, the backup team's vested up, the undercover's wired up, everybody's ready to go. You got your entry tools if you need them. You got everything you need in case it hits the fan. Every time you go out, there's a lot of stress in that. Now it can be bad on patrol too. But at that level, I mean, how did that affect you? Did you feel in a groove with it, or were you feeling the stress of it?
That's a great question, Dan. Really is a good question. One in particular, if I may. Yes, I was involved. I worked undercover. My cover was I was a university graduate student at University of Penn. I used to tool around in a BMW convertible. Was my cover car. It was a great ride. All the cars back in the day, we used to seize cars and we used to lose cars. Dang, right? I mean, our group was like, oh my God, this guy has a Benz. This guy has an Lexus. This one's driving a BMW convertible. This one's driving a Toyota Celica Supra. A brand new off the mark, beautiful car. But the crooks would never think. Nobody had the feds in those cars, man. We never got burned on surveillance. Never did. We never got burned. But getting back to we back in the day, if you didn't work undercover, if you didn't work UC, field timers, the guys from the Vietnam eras, the 70s, the BNDD eras, they didn't trust you. They didn't trust you. So I had to get in there and I had to go and do the little monitoring buys, the little corner buys to get used to how you work the buys. And one particular instance, you hit the nail on the head about it. Everyone's working together on the same sheet of music. I was undercover at one time with a college professor we knocked off. His contact was from Philadelphia, kiloweight quantities. So we brought one of our officers out in West Virginia, grabbed them, nailed them, and brought them to us to work. So we developed the cover story. I was going to be the young purchaser. And what happens? We go to North Philadelphia. We meet the bad guy, and we ended up having for 1 kilo, $25,000. 1 kilo, $25,000. And Tom said the same thing. Dope wasn't cheap in Philadelphia, man. $25,000 for 2.2 pounds. That's not cheap, If we go down south, it's a lot cheaper because of the transportation fees as they work their way north. So what happened is that particular day, and I won't take much of your time on this one, is that we ended up getting the packages. We end up meeting. He goes and gets the packages. He comes back, and he knows I have the money. Lessons learned. I don't think any less of me or the guys at that particular 1990 or 91. Lessons learned. Money should not be on the set. We're going to move that stuff. We're going to get it out of here. Well, guess what? The money sat in the trunk of the car. I sat there at the location thinking back. Yeah, we kicked this thing around the can 1,000 times. Can't do that. Can't do that anymore. Can't do this anymore. Well, when he comes back, yeah, he shows it to me. Well, the arrest signal was pop in the trunk. Arrest signal, pop that trunk. Boop, trunk goes up on that, that car, a G car, surveillance all around. Bam, 30 some of those in my ribs. He goes, not today, kid. No, not today. I'm like, talk about training? Bang, danger signal, hands go up. Well, you want to see some people come rushing in to save you. They rolled around the street the one way. I mean, I can remember Howard. He was in a Corvette, him and Nancy. They keep blowing around the corner, up the wrong way street. The guys are running down the street. You hear their feet coming. I'm trying to create my distance from the guy. So the guy tries to make a beeline for the front door, like a couple steps up. Our guys cleaned his clock. Just boom, took him right out. Boom, knocked him in the next week. Funny story on this one. My boss gets me off the set, gets me off the location. The guys that were cleaning him up, resting him. It was a preseason football game. It was like a Monday night and it was like end of August or something. And the Eagles were supposed to be playing the Dolphins. He has the nerve to say to the guys, "Well, I guess I'm not going to be able to watch the Eagles tonight, huh?" Just like, what the heck? Cowboys. He's not going to be able to watch the Eagles game. We're like, no, you're not. No, that I got to give it. And I said this before. Got to give the guy credit. He got 5 years for pulling on assault on a federal agent, and then we ended up taking not only 1 kilo that he had in his bag, but he had a second kilo inside the house. That's 2, another 10. And he ate the charges, man. He did not fight. He did not cooperate. Did not fight. He took the 15. Boom, done. Boom. Didn't even take us to trial. Said, no, please. So I don't know if he was trying to run from his wife or something like that to get away from her or whatever. I don't know, but right. So he did. It was crazy. Thank you for laughing at that.
Yeah, that's
thank God I'm okay, But I mean, I was like 25, 26. So imagine let's think about this, guys. If we were like in our 40s, how would we feel about it if we were in our 40s and it happened to us? Because my boss immediately said to me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "Rick," and he's a Boston guy, Boston copper, tough guy, great guy. I said, I'm good. And once again, I thought to myself, maybe I should be on the field coaching safety and receivers, okay?
And you know what? That brings up a great point. And we've discussed this before with other, ATF undercovers and multiple of undercovers that we've had on the show. Being an undercover is a calling. It is another world. It is another set of, just something you have in your heart to do. But you know what sucks as well is the field team. When you're sitting offset and you're just listening and waiting, you can't breathe. You can't think. Just get this done. Get it done. Just hurry up. And you kind of quietly in the front seat of a car yelling at the undercover going, "Shut up, just do it. Just stop talking. Just get it done," because it's all around. Everyone's stressed out when there's a buy going on because you're afraid of getting ripped, just like it happened to you. And it's not fun. It's great, the results when you're done and it's over, but what we all had to go through on sets is not a good experience. It's not fun.
It's a very good point. I mean, I commend those guys for coming in. I mean, anytime you're putting your life and limb out there, and a lot of times guys will leave the job because of a bad experience like that. They just feel that like it's just not for them anymore because of the fact of the matter they got shaken up. And it's like, you know what? I'm going back. I got my JD degree. I'm gonna go practice law, and that has happened. And it's no, I don't look at the person any less than that. I really don't. That's their decision. If they can't do that, it's fine. I mean, I'm not ever gonna do that to someone because they, those that talk about it, they've never been in it. Get yourself into that situation. And the thing is, and you guys, Tom and Dan, this is, and your other guests on your shows have done undercover work. You can, let's just take a step back. We have to do everything in law enforcement. Perfect every time. There's no ands, ifs, or buts, because if we don't do that, people are going to get injured. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed. Take a Major League Baseball player. I see that hat you got down there at the time. You got that hat working there tonight. Outstanding. But you think of a baseball player. He gets the bat 10 times. Hits 3 balls. He's a Hall of Famer, dude. He's a Hall of Famer. The other 7, if we miss one assignment, you're either going to a rubber gun squad, like a support team or support squad, and then you get the rap on you like that. don't even go near. You can't bring that person on the street. No way. He's reckless. He's reckless, So think about that. And as the general public sometimes doesn't realize that what it takes for an officer or a patrolman, it's got to make a split-second decision 10, 15 times a night. And an 8 or 12, 10, 12-hour shift, that's brutal, dude. That is brutal. And for us, with one thing about DEA or specialized units, say in NYPD, you're out there as a team and you're working it and you're like, come on, please, let's stop the talking, get this done, get the dope, let's see the money, let's do whatever we need to do. I want to go home tonight. Everyone has to go home tonight. Those patrolmen, they're sitting in their car sometime and I used to teach tactics in Quantico. You're sitting in a car and people walk up on you. We used to sit with our weapons in our right between our legs. Someone walks up, I'm going boom, 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 right through the glass at them. That's what you're trained to do. Don't roll the window down and then engage. Go right to the freaking window with it, And so, but I had to put that out there. But sometimes the public just doesn't understand, and it infuriates me. These people, they watch these TV shows and they do all this crazy, Hollywood stuff. It doesn't work like that. It really doesn't.
No, it's real people with real concerns. And, training and experience and working with great people is what gets you through it, is what enables you to not just do the job well, but do it at a very high level and do it on a regular basis. But you're right. All it takes is one person to blow their assignment and not execute. You watch a football team, they call a play. If everybody executes and the defense doesn't get too slick on them, they can probably get a first down.
Sure.
Right? They'll probably move the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. If everybody blocks the way they're supposed to, moves, all that kind of stuff. Somebody fails in their assignment. If you are doing something with regards to backing up on undercover, making a significant buy, kilo weight, let's say.
Yes, sir.
If you blow it, if you get too close and they see you and they get raised up, you can get your undercover killed. Because they'll think he's a snitch and then they'll always have an escape act. And some of them are going to countries you can't just extradite them from. And they'll be in a plane in an hour before. I mean, it's happened. And so you got to be super careful. You can't be too far away. You got to understand traffic patterns. How am I going to get down this block? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? All that crazy stuff. But, what happens is we tend to do so many operational things, so many street buys, so many case buys, so many search warrants. After a while, you get cocky. Cocky can mean sloppy.
Have you ever wished you could go back in time and see the events that shape the true crime cases that fascinate you? With newspapers.com, it's like having a time machine to the past. Dive into more than 1 billion newspaper pages from 1690 to 2025 and relive the headlines that shocked entire towns. Explore newspapers from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and beyond with a simple search. Read the breaking news as it happened, crime scene reports, witness testimonies, and courtroom drama. Explore forgotten clues and see how the media shaped the narrative of infamous cases. But it's not just the major stories. Newspapers.com lets you dig into local mysteries, missing persons reports, and the small-town scandals that history forgot. It's the closest you can get to being there when it all unfolded. So, if you're ready to dig deeper into the crimes that keep you up at night, start your journey today at newspapers.com. Use the code GOLDSHIELDS for an exclusive 20% discount on your subscription.
When it comes to the safety of law enforcement, first responders, and military personnel, every moment counts, especially in the dark. Streamlight provides the reliable, high-performance lighting solutions that these heroes trust in the most dangerous situations. Whether it's a car stop, navigating dark alleyways, or exploring abandoned buildings. With Streamlight by their side, our heroes can tackle challenges with confidence, knowing they have the power of advanced lighting technology to guide them. From the first responders on the front lines to the law enforcement officers ensuring our safety, Streamlight is there to make every mission a little easier and much safer. Join us in supporting those who protect us. Visit Streamlight.com to discover how you can be part of the team keeping our heroes safe. Because when they shine, we all shine.
There you go.
So you worked in Philly for a while, man. You could probably talk all day about Philly.
Sure.
It's the
Sure.
smaller version of New York in terms of inner city drug problems and violence. But where'd you go after that, Jack?
went down to Quantico. I had the opportunity to go to Quantico, to the academy. I was probably, when I was a basic agent down there, I thought to myself, being a former teacher and football coach, would love to come back down here to the Mecca where it's all starts, down to the FBI, DEA Academy, home in the Marine Corps base, Quantico. The second lieutenants come through there, all that. But I wanted to get down there as a tactical instructor. Now, if I may be so bold or whatever, tactical instructor, if you guys know, a tactical instructor would be physical training, defensive tactics, entries, vehicle involved, the rest. So we had a lot on our plate to deal with down in Quantico. We were probably with the basic ages of 17 weeks more than the other units. Probably firearms was next, and probably academics was after that. But yet, I got down, I had the opportunity. And how did I get the opportunity? Okay. My senior partner was a New York City detective. His buddy was the number 2 guy who was also a New York detective back in the day. He was the number 2 guy in training. I'll be straight up, man. I am an Irish Cali. I'll call a spade a spade. I'll be straight up about it. Yes, he ended up getting me down to Quantico into the gym. And that was my best 5 years of my life down there. It was amazing. You know why? Because I was able to touch and train so many new agent personnel, which was incumbent. At that time, Tom, Dan, we were doing about 50 students in a class for 17 weeks, and we were doing about 4 classes at a time in rotation. Compared to Bureau, Bureau's doing about 8 or 9, and this is from 96 till about 2000 or so. And then we were down there doing it, and I enjoyed it, but I knew I had to make a move eventually. And why did I knew I had to make a move? Because being an former educator, we have lesson plans. You guys teach. You keynote speakers, so you have a certain plan. When you're on raid 6 in Building 100 in Hogan's Alley, and it's the first scenario of the day, and you know what a mistake's going to be, it's time to go. It's time to hit the bricks and it's time to say, all right, I need to promote. I need to take the test. I need to move on to the next level. And that's when I did. I ended up moving on to the next level. And that's why I got an assignment down in the Caribbean division. I was the resident agent in charge down in the St. Croix resident office for about 4 years. But I know I'm very brief on the training. But yes, Quantico, magnificent. We got to meet so many people, worked with a lot of different agencies. We bring them in from outside. Matter of fact, we had the I want to get this right. FD Fire Department, New York, come down, teach the instructors breaching. How do you breach? How to knock the pins and how to use the rabbit tools. And then we roll that into the students. We have fire extinguishers on dogs. I incorporated that idea. and took it down to the islands. So we didn't hurt the dogs. So, but different things like that. And you met so many different folks, different, SWAT personnel, international personnel. But after a while, I knew it was time I gotta go. Can I get to another assignment, please?
Right. And you know what? Before we get to that next assignment, which is a unique area that the DEA gets involved in, just going to take this time real quick. Thank our sponsors once again, goals.com, tacticalgear.com. And Dan, there's another sponsor, something to do with like Carry Impact or something like that is kind of close to us, right?
Yeah, brave little company run by a couple of, marginal guys, thin resumes. It's carryimpact.com. If you want the alternative to pepper spray that's taking off among law enforcement, private security, and personal protection, carryimpact.com. It's not pepper. It's a safer mix of ingredients you can use in any environment. It cleans up quickly. It's got none of the baggage pepper spray does, but it's got all the benefit. Carryimpact.com, carryimpact.com. Get some for yourself, your family. Don't be anybody's victim. It's inexpensive, easy to use, and it can help you out. So carryimpact.com. Thanks for that.
Yep. And, the 2 guys just happen to be called Dan and Tom who own the company. But, coincidence. Yeah. Well,
I don't like him. I don't trust him.
Good deal. Good stuff.
You know what, Jack? You end up down in St. Croix working in the Caribbean on an island. Now, a lot of people, and you know this, and you probably heard it. Wow, what a gig. Sitting on the beach. What's going on down there that you could possibly do as a DEA agent? So all those people may be thinking that right now. Fill them in on the craziness that you had to deal with down there.
Well, I'll tell you, the Caribbean is a very, very unique location. The Caribbean Division, which sits in San Juan, Puerto Rico, we have offices all the way up into Freeport, Bahamas. We bring it down the chain. You go far as west over to the Jamaica, bring it down to the ABCs, or Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Trinidad and Tobago, which is up Port of Spain down there as well. So you're dealing with, not only are you dealing with territorial offices or offices that are American territories, you're also doing internationally. At any given moment, you're talking and dealing and working with the Brits, the Dutch, and the French. So I could be literally at a meeting in the morning with my American counterparts, and I'm talking to Mick, who was the BVI. Over in the BVI is our British counterpart. So the coordination was very, very extreme at times, because we have different ideas. Okay, and what I mean by that is, the Americans, we're coming in hard on it. We're coming hard. Well, some of our other counterparts might not be as hard as we are. And I'm not going to point fingers. I'm not that kind of person, very optimistic person. But when we needed them, they were there to work. The Brits were probably our tightest, because we had that relationship. Good friend of mine, Charlie, over across the way in St. Thomas. We had another office in St. Thomas. Heck of a guy, great guy. He's retired, lives in Carolina. We keep in touch, and we had the fellow over in Tortola. So what happens is, I'll put this in your listeners, your audience as well. Picture the Caribbean. Okay. Picture, Dan, I'll take your point as far as a football team. In country, meaning Ecuador, Colombia, Venezuela, Suriname, or to the east, Guyana with the GUY, not the African one. That's going to be where the in-country agents got to handle it in-country, like the defensive line. When that starts to move north, dope moves north, when he comes south, when it moves north, now you're talking to linebacker. You're talking to our guys in our Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, Port of Spain, Bridgetown, Barbados, St. Croix, St. Thomas, all the offices in Puerto Rico, all the way up the chain till it gets to Freeport. That's the linebacker. Then when it breaks into CONUS, that's the defensive secondary. So it has to be where we're working in tandem with all these different levels to stop it before it gets into the United States of America, per se. It's a very interesting place to live. It's a very dangerous place to live. St. Croix, 20 miles long, 20 miles wide, 28 miles long, 7 miles wide, 50,000 population, about 100 murders a year. Gunslingers killing each other. My wife, I was always concerned about my wife and the families of my agents over there, because of the fact that the matter was they would possibly get caught in a crossfire. Guns unlimited over there, no doubt about it. I mean, there was one time where we lived on the North Shore. You can more than look up on a map, on North Shore by Columbus Cove. Columbus Cove is where Christopher Columbus discovered the Virgin Islands. Funny part about it is Christopher Columbus was a pirate. And we honor him with a freaking Columbus Day. I mean, I know New York's a big deal about that, but he was a pirate in 1493. Go take the tour, and the Rangers will tell you that. He was a pirate. Booze, food, girls. Get them all, bring them on the boat. You know what I mean? So that's what he did. So we got that tour and whatever. But so the families see it differently. So one particular day, my Virgin Islands Police Department officer comes in to me, my deputized task force officer says, boss, where's your wife right now? And I said, probably at the gym. I said, why? Because at your intersection, there was a gunfight and there's 2 dead. And I said, okay, I'm going to call her and tell her keep doing the stepper for another half an hour or so. So I call her, I said, and my wife was very good, very professional, great lady. And she's like, okay, thumbs up. I'm like, yep, thumbs up. Don't go that way. Stay put till you hear from me. Okay. So, but the family, which would be like different. They're over in Buck Island. They're taking a cruise or flying over to Puerto Rico, and they're taking a down island cruise. But the guys and the gals that I had working with us, not for me, they didn't work for me. We worked together. I had about 19 weapon carriers. Well, 19 total personnel, I guess it is, weapon carriers per se, in that office. because we needed them. And they were very active and very creative because you had to think outside the box. You don't think the gangsters knew every single federal car? Sure they did. Every federal car, they knew it. So if we wanted to do an undercover operation, we had to bring agents in from CONUS, Atlanta, Miami, even Puerto Rico. We were afraid to bring them over because we were afraid that they might be over there on the island, on the rock. And he'd be like, I know that guy. And he's over here. And he's like, he's a federal agent, whatever he's DEA, he's DEA, So we had to be careful with that. So we had to think outside the box. And we had to do different type of investigations. And I know what you're saying about, there's the crack slingers up there doing their crack. Down there, it is airdrops. It is go fast. It is Yola boats. What's a Yola boat? A Yola boat, Yola, look it up, YOLA, Yola is a low-lying boat. Has one engine on it. It could be anywhere from 20 feet to 30 feet long, whatever, wooden boat. And there'll be like 2 guys on it. And they'll be putting in the middle of the Caribbean with a thing of gas, some food, and some water and some dry fruit or some type of food. And a bale, 50-kilo bale, cocaine. And a Coast Guard, 110 will be on patrol, and they'll nail them. What are you guys doing way out here? We're trying to take this to Puerto Rico. Trying to get this to Puerto Rico. You're like going, dude, you're like 300 miles from freaking Puerto Rico, We picked it up in Honduras, and we came off the coast, and oh, my God. So we would get a lot of those cases because, believe it or not, St. Croix was the furthest east and the furthest south of the U.S. territories of the district. And we were in the 3rd district, third U.S. district. So 93rd inside, Guam is the smallest. We're the next in size, 93. So fantastic cases. And believe it or not, you had a lock and load to be ready for these cases coming through because as they were moving them, smuggling operations, airdrop operations, moving it from island to island. And what they would do, Tom and Dan, is they wouldn't go out to the Atlantic Ocean. I wish I had a map behind here. I'd show you. They stay in the Caribbean. They don't bump to the Atlantic. Atlantic's too rough. When they move to the Atlantic is when they're breaking for either Lisbon, Portugal, or they're breaking over to the continent of Africa. That's when they get to the Atlantic. And they'd be on a 52-foot sailboat or whatever with an engine. But a lot of times when they're coming through us, they're gonna work the islands all the way up to the TCs, the Turks Caicos, all the way up to the Bahamas, and then eventually dump either into the Miamis or dump into the Savannah, Georgias, also, the Charleston, South Carolinas. They'll dump in, and then that's what they'll end up doing.
That's wild. That's what I was gonna ask you, and you kind of answered it, but maybe go into a little bit more. The islands in the Caribbean, what are they used as? Are they hubs? Are they distribution centers? Are they, is it being sold on that island? Because now, with the question I'm asking, you have to deal with land, air, sea,
yes, sir,
all of that, not just someone rolling up on 187 in St. Nick. You're rolling on 3 different levels of imports and dealings, right?
Yes, sir. A lot of times you got to remember one thing. I put a note down here specifically to tell you guys this. What is the Caribbean when it comes to drug trafficking? The Caribbean is an international transshipment point. An international transshipment point. It is not going to stay there. It's going to move. That's why when you come out of country and they're paying, $2,000 in Colombia to manufacture per kilo, and then before you know it gets up to where we are now, it's maybe 12,000, and then it gets up the chain a little further. It has to keep moving. It can't stay there. It might get held up if they know there's law enforcement presence or if there's Coast Guard presence in the area. If there's a British ship in the area, they won't move. They'll let it sit somewhere. They'll let it sit in some storage facility in Antigua. They'll let it sit there, and then they'll move it. And who are these people? These people are nothing but the average person who wants to make a few bucks. Dan, you hit it on the head back in the day. You said, just a couple minutes ago, you said, about the money, man. It's about the money. And they get paid for it. So now you're sitting on an island like Antigua, and it doesn't cost much to live down there if you know they're going to hit the tourists, but if you know how to get the ins and the outs, you live down there quite well. And then the next day, they're out taking somebody deep sea diving, for some tourists from freaking like London, England, whatever. Yeah. So, but it does, the bottom line is it keeps itself moving till it gets to its destination. If I may be so bold, and I'll give you a quick one on this one. We were monitoring, it wasn't my case. It was, and I was, part of group 3, but 2 of the other fellas, Matt and Mike, both Irishmen, believe it or not, they were
Trucking.
Yes,
This episode.
absolutely sucking. They were able to coordinate with an in-country office. A freighter had 1,000 keys of coke that was discovered in a particular container. It was on its way up to Canada, but there was going to be a stop in Philadelphia. That's why we ended up getting the duty call. We got a duty call and affiliate this freighter. One of our other alphabet agencies picked it up, and we coordinated with the other alphabet agencies. So this freighter, it's being monitored. They're letting it go. It's coming all the way through the Caribbean. It's coming all the way up to the east coast of the States, and it comes up to Delaware Bay there, and it comes up to Philadelphia. We hit it. We knew what the container number was. We knew what it was. We end up taking the container off the ship. And then the customs guys, magnificent. They used to have these teams called, you guys, I can't remember, CERT teams. They were like search teams they were. They break it open. The crooks were so clever. Inside wood, like 2x4 wood, they plane the corners off. And they put 1.1s in there, half kilos. And all of this wood is equated to about 1,000 kilos. So we ended up, we ended up holding the load until we got a full inspection on it. Then they secured the load, secured the container, put it back, because an unwitting professional tractor trailer driver was going to drive this bad boy up to Canada. Well, guess who's following it? DEA, Customs. It's like a caravan. We're following this because we can't let this thing get out of our sight. We're putting 1,000 kilos on the street. And if the press hears about this, oh my God, 1,000 kilos are on the street. It was wired down. We had air surveillance. We had back in the day, these things called fireflies, and they'd flash at night or whatever like that. So we're going up the New York State Thruway. As I go up the New York State Thruway, it's like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. It was dark out. Well, the plane has to pull off because there's coming upon a storm and it needs fuel. Well, the plane doesn't coordinate with the ground units. Talking about ground units. Okay, so we're on an international control delivery right now. So we're moving up. Well, the plane moves up, and we're like, anyone have the plane, ground units to plane, what's their status? Dead silence. Because I just pulled off this storm coming up. I had to go get some fuel. You talk about freaking mayhem over the radio. So we're like trying to figure this thing out. So we're blowing up the New York State Thruway just north of Albany. And I see a truck stop, and I said, there, go to the truck stop. So we get off the ramp, we cross over the interstate, we get down, and there he's fueling. He's fueling up, man. He's fueling his tanks up. And I'm like, oh, baby, got him here. That dude, you talk about professional tractor trailer drivers. Man, I'm talking, he was rolling. He knew where to go and how to do it. We locked back up on him. Plane comes back on location. We follow him to the border, hand him off to the RCMP. Had a great week in Montreal on one of the streets of St. Catherine Street, because we couldn't even bring the guns into the country. It wouldn't let us. We had to sit tight. And of course, it was a successful operation, successful control delivery. Bunch of Italian gangsters up there. They nailed them many, many years ago. RCMP, I can't say enough about those guys and gals. Just wonderful people. That's my experience as well.
I worked back in the day. Yeah, they were great. Wow. What a story about what it takes to follow something, and you want to follow it through to the end. Who ordered it? Who paid for it? Who's waiting for it? That's who you want to pop. You don't want to just get their drugs. It's about getting the arrest, the intelligence, seizing the assets, all that kind of stuff. And there's so much money involved in this stuff that people wouldn't understand. It's crazy.
Crazy amount of money.
Yeah. And it's the largest, at the time it was the largest cash business in the world was South American cocaine.
Yep. It's I don't know the particular dollar figures, but it's extraordinary. But that particular case, it was so we ran it so tight that it was smooth. It was smooth for us. But yet we knew that we had to get it done right because it wasn't staying in the States. It was going to go to the Canadian authorities. And we didn't want to look bad. You know what I'm saying? We didn't want to make it look bad about it. And they took it and they ended up taking them off, taking a whole load. And was fantastic. It was really, really, really quite cool. I was a young man, I guess probably within a minute. It's probably my late 20s at that case was going on. But it was quite interesting. And that's what I think what DEA is about. I mean, it's, there's hours upon hours. You guys know hours upon hours of sitting and watching and what's going to happen here and what's going to happen there. You want everything to go. No one gets injured. No one gets killed. But it does on our job. And just like NYPD, people do get killed on our job. I mean, I wrote another thing. I did my homework for you guys. I wanted to make sure that, our wall of honor, I know I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but our wall of honor, we have 54 killed since the inception, July 1, 1973, under Nixon, brought us on board. 54, man. You think to yourself, some people say to me, would say, I thought it'd be like in the hundreds, Jack. I'm like, well, we're not in no disrespect. We're not at war per se, like the poor guys and gals in Vietnam and that kind of action. But this one, we have 54 and we have a beautiful, beautiful tribute to them. Beautiful. Wall of honor.
And you know what? Let me just point out something. We kind of glossed over it earlier. Your time that you did in Quantico at training. Anybody who's been in law enforcement and has gone beyond just the basics, even if you do the basics, but if you go into specialized units and you work in narcotics, work in task forces, and you have to have more tactical training to do some of the stuff you do, you realize just how many lives are saved by having great instruction. Right? Tom, shaking his head, right?
100%.
I even remember being in our firearms and tactics section. There's stuff I learned there that today, when I go shoot, I use.
Wow.
Still move my leg this way. I still bend my head that way. I still anticipate this because I was told by people that had been there and done that.
I love it.
And that's why you don't have any idea how many people you may have saved, how many agents you may have went home that night because something you taught them. That's valuable stuff.
You give me the goosebumps. I mean, Dan, you give me goosebumps, Tom, because, a lot of times I always believed Uncle Sam. When I mean Uncle Sam, I mean every law enforcement. Uncle Sam, there's no one in the world that trains like Uncle Sam trains. And I've been exposed to that when I get personnel would come in from like the UK or whatever like that. And I go, even the Mossad guys would come in and they wanted to learn. They were like sponges. They wanted to learn about, working in and around vehicles. How do you do this? Not getting shot, because those kind of guys, I mean, I hate to say it, what's going on right now, but they'll just send a grenade, boom, blow the car up. No, you need that person alive. We need to talk to this person. We got to get the intel on this one. You can't do that. So, but you're absolutely right. And I really truly enjoyed that position. And one of my greatest things is not one of my students that I was involved with was neither seriously injured or killed. Not one.
But you know what? You brought up a great point of training, Dan. It was great to bring it up because we've discussed it before, and I've said this a bunch of times. When you have that experience and you have the knowledge to pass on to others, you owe it to them to do that. We have a responsibility to pass on what we know, experiences we've had, and training that we've had to pass on to others to make sure they're okay. And that's exactly what you did. And the reason that none of your students are hurt or got injured is because you believe in that. And you passed on everything you learned to make sure they didn't get hurt. And that's a tribute and honor to you because it's not just a detail. And you didn't take it as just a cool place to be. You took the responsibility of what training is to another level to make sure the next generation got it.
I love that. I mean, this whole podcasting thing I'm having fun with it, but it's also about getting the word out about DEA and for the next generation of personnel. I really believe that wholeheartedly. I really, really do because it's such an outstanding organization. I can't say enough about it. It gave myself a quality of life that truthfully, I went all the way to 57, as I said before, but I'm not out there really doing anything. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. If someone wants to hire me to be a keynote speaker, let's do it, whatever. But I mean, I'm not out there, how can I say, chasing the carrot. I'm not doing it. I don't want that 9 to 5 gig again. I don't want to do that. But if GM wants to bring me in and talk about leadership or passion, I'll come in and talk to you for an hour about it and talk about it that way. So, but yes, that's a very good point. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate that, guys, because when you get into training, you're put into a pretty big situation. I mean, I don't know if a lot of our guys knew that, but you're there to make sure that these people know what they're doing. And if they don't, that's going to fall back on you. And I used to always do this. And I don't know if you guys had grandmothers. I mean, I had grandmothers back in the day. My grandmother on my mother's side was a repeater. She would repeat things to the point where it's like, is there something wrong with grandma? What's wrong with her? What's there something wrong with her? Why does she repeat all the time? I'm going to put my stuff away. So my wife thinks I like OCD, or I guess I do, or whatever, because everything has its place. Get it organized, keep it squared away. And I would always repeat. And the students would joke at the end of the evaluation time. If Mr. Mcfarland said this one more time, cuff, double lock, high research, cuff, double lock, high research, I was gonna like bang my head off the wall, But they realized that. And one particular story, a new agent was out in the West Coast on a mission with a new office. He was out there on a buy bust operation. Couple gangsters, they take off. He gets a partner. He runs the bad guy down. And then he said, all I can remember is hearing your voice in Quantico on the pool deck saying, cuff, double lock, high research. How cool is that, man? That's so cool, right? And
what it's all about.
Patriot is a premium whiskey hard seltzer. We've carefully crafted 4 flavors that not only taste exceptional, but can be enjoyed on any occasion, anytime. We're committed to giving back 5% of all profits to the core groups we call the backbone of America. We are proud to help those who serve our great country. This is America's Seltzer, the brand that stands for quality, community, and the American spirit.
Looking for powerful defense without the mess? Meet Impact, a revolutionary line of chemical irritants designed for law enforcement, military, and personal protection. With no blowback, no cross-contamination, and easy cleanup, Carry Impact delivers unmatched stopping power without the hassle. Whether you're in the field or on the street, safety should never be compromised. Protect yourself with the next generation of defense. Carry Impact. Stopping power redefined.
yeah, and even at, I'm going to be 63 years old. I've been away from it for so long now, but I still feel like I touched something. I touched the nerve.
And the leadership piece and law enforcement, I've been in corporate America. I've been lucky to have 2 kind of careers. And what I learned about leadership in policing is that if you don't lead and care for your people, they can get hurt, killed, arrested, sued, in trouble. You got to be a bit of a shepherd, so to speak. You got to look out for them. You got to help them. It's not just about signing forms and reports. It's not just about ordering people to do things. And in DEA, what I saw there was leaders like yourself who are going to go through the door, who are going to be vested up and out in the field team when there's a buy being made, who are doing tactical discussions before an operation goes down to ensure safety. That's so important because poor leadership in law enforcement can get people killed. Bad decisions, forcing people to do things they're not comfortable with. NYPD has a standing policy, at least they did when I was there, and Tom was there too. If you're an undercover and you don't feel good about an assignment, you think you got a bad feeling about it, you can decline it, and there can be no negative repercussions on your career. And that's a big, you can't tell somebody you've got to go in and do this by. And undercover's telling you, I got a really bad feeling. The snitch is playing both sides. I just got a bad. We have to honor that, right? And that's where leadership comes in. Leadership.
May I ask you guys a question? During your times in NYPD, you guys were supervisors, and you had these operations, and you're ripping and running, and all of a sudden you have to slow it down. And now you get your pony there, your black horse pony, your stallion doesn't like that. How did you handle that? I know how I did it. Irish Catholic, right at you, bro, right at you. We're not doing it.
Tom wasn't a supervisor per se. He was a detective second grade, which meant he didn't have to worry about, evaluations and all that other stuff that I had to deal with. And he didn't have to do the desk in a precinct on a 4 to 12 on a summer night. He's just out running around. He's out running around chasing bad guys. There you go. So I chased bad guys for most of my career. Then I became a sergeant, and I had to learn how to lead people who were chasing bad guys. But I still got to chase them too because I was only a sergeant. I never wanted to be higher than that. But Tom's a guy who was a laser-like focus guy. I think it all depends upon the agent, the detective, the cop, who you're dealing with. Are they responsible? Are they proven? Do they know what they're doing? Do they have integrity? Do they have a good level head about what they're doing? Or are they somebody that's going to pop off and get others hurt? So if the person's trustworthy, let them run. Go ahead, Tom.
And you know what? Two real quick examples of that. And to answer your question, Jack, two quick examples. And it's all like you, Dan, just said about trusting your team and who your undercovers are and trusting in their decisions. But one, I remember we had a fill-in undercover once. We're setting up a buy in a case we were doing. It was my case. And we're running it, and we're getting good totals of heroin. And, the undercover that we had doing it was brilliant. But he wasn't around one night, and the subjects called up, hey, I just got a shipment and you want some, and we couldn't pass on it. But we had one undercover who was sitting in the office, and we kind of brief him on it. And he goes, yeah, let's go. Well, no problem. He goes, hey, just to let you know, if anything goes wrong, I'm shooting the CI first.
Oh.
And I went, huh? If anything goes wrong, if it's taking the CI out first, I go, okay, well, we're not doing this. No, I'm good to do it. No, you're not, bro. No, we're not. And we just shut it down.
Good, shut it down?
Okay, we're all going home. We'll do it tomorrow. When the actual undercover was in. But that's what, Dan, a perfect example of knowing who you're dealing with. And
yes.
I think all of us, there were like 5 of us on our team, looked at this guy the same exact way and went, well, huh? Like, no, dude, we'll throw you off a bridge before we throw the CI over the bridge. Wow. But that's what, that's, and it's a great question, Jack, because we all were in situations like that of going forward. And that's the risk reward thing. How much risk is worth the reward?
Yep. I agree with him. Risk versus reward. You hear it all the time. Risk versus reward, especially in now our careers. Absolutely. I mean, risk versus reward. I don't think there was an amount of dope that I would have went after if I knew it wasn't gonna work out right. I just no way.
Because they're not going anywhere.
No,
the bad guys aren't going anywhere. They're gonna be in the same building, the same front stoop, wearing the same clothes, driving the same car tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
Creatures of
I like that.
Even if you're working at a higher level, like a place like Queens, New York. Now, when I was in the task force of the DEA in New York, I didn't work Colombians per se, but you couldn't ignore the elephant in the room, which is that the Cali cartel owned Queens, and they moved mountains of snow a day through Queens. Mountain. And it made its way all across the Upper East, Mid-Atlantic states, and it started in Queens. And the safe houses were there. But the safe houses, as you know, stuff moves quickly.
Yes. And
I dropped 250 kilos in a house. In 2 hours, there's 2 left. Maybe. It's all gone. Move. Gotta go. That's a liability. You can't sit there, and you're responsible for it. But, playing at a game at that level, if you're the investigator, you can miss a load. There's going to be another one. You don't have to get people hurt or killed. It's patience.
Sure.
Investigative patience can be difficult. But when you learn that, that's when you get the better reward, right?
That's absolutely correct. I like how you said that. You're right about that. I was going back down to the Caribbean, as I said earlier. A lot of times when they knew the heat was on because of the military's down there, customs was running with their boats or their planes, or Coast Guard was running with their boats and their planes. They would tuck in. They would tuck into these unbelievable. I mean, I don't want to say, the islands were beautiful, blue green waters, white sandy beaches, all the sunshine and warm weather. But remember, modern day piracy down there, guns, drugs, human trafficking, it happens in and around you. And it is true that sometimes, like look at the DR right now, the Dominican Republic. They got some problems going on over there. Haiti, forget about it, man. You don't want to go near Haiti. You don't want to go near Haiti. I mean, the Haitians try to get over into the DR because they're connected by land, and the Dominican Army pushes them back over. I mean, think about that. They say, get out of here. Get out of here. We'll kill you. And it's a wacky location down there. But I try to stay away from that. Die Mexico. we don't go near it. I don't go near it, man.
Hey, Jack, before we come to an end here, there was an award that you want to tell us about.
An award I wanted to point out. I mean, some couple funny stories I put together, but I'll let you guys. We'll end it here. But one particular award that we were trying to do an operation in one evening in Philadelphia, and it didn't happen. We were talking about things not happening, and it just didn't happen. And our boss like, hey, listen, let's do everything you just wrapped up here. It would happen to us that particular night. It just didn't go. wasn't right. So kind of as a young age, I was disappointed. So we come back to the Open Bay group there in the Federal Building in Philly, and I was kind of disappointed that it didn't happen. So our boss says, "Listen, guys, it's 11 o'clock. Go home. We'll see you guys in the morning." So when I got it back in the next day, there was this plaque sitting on my desk, and my boss, Rick's name, and he's a former Boston guy. And I just had this award on my desk. And I'm like, what's it about? He's trying to butter me up. So Rick says it's a certificate of achievement. So this is to certify that Jack Mcfarland has been honored for outstanding contribution, dedication, and effort to his hair, clothes, government car, and desk. It took the freaking run. All the guys were standing there and they broke my rear end bad. Well, let me tell you something. That afternoon, we went out and got the deal done, man. We got it done. But I always kept this, man. March 11, 1994. I wanted to tell you that one, man. And once again, to his hair, his clothes, his G-car, government car, and to his desk.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is great.
Oh, I thought you were going to kick out of that one. No, that's true. Thanks for sharing that one. But thank you. Thanks for listening to that thing.
No, that's good.
What he really whether it's federal, NYPD, DEA, don't matter.
Yeah, and it just made everything right. We were able to see clearer, and we went to work, and we took care of business that afternoon. And we used to have a motto in a Group 3 in Philly: no state cases, only federal cases. No state, federal. And we rock and rolled, man. We rock and rolled in that group. We sure did.
Outstanding.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. This has been a treat, and I'd like to have you on again because I got a feeling we only scratched the surface with some of the stuff with you. But
I would love to do it with you guys. I think you guys are awesome guys. I mean, I really feel humbled to be on the show with you guys, and because we're all law enforcement guys, and we all went through the craziest things in the world. And, from my agent in St. Croix killing a freaking eel with a bang stick, blew its head off, and, just nuts. And this guy was all involved in 2 shootings before. And I'm like, oh my God, and Earl the Eel, he killed Earl the Eel, for Christ's sake,
Well, there is, if I could just say one thing, there is a bit of a brotherhood among those of us who have worn the uniform and worn plain clothes and been, let's say, sitting in a car outside a house, waiting to do a search warrant, backing up an undercover, jumping out, whipping out your gun, ramming a door, running through into danger, knocking people all over the place, knocking them on their butts, seizing a bunch of stuff, and then coming out of it. And those of us that have done it long enough and did enough of it, we have something in common. We understand the commitment that it takes to do that, the focus, the energy, the physical strength, psychological strength, the risk that you take. Once you've been there, That's a kinship. That's a brotherhood, and it's something that is a good thing because we have helped communities. We've put bad guys away. We've stopped reigns of terror in areas, and it's stuff that we should hold our head high and walk proud because we did good stuff for good people at a time when this country was under the gun when it came to drugs. It
I
was
agree.
really bad. It's bad again now with fentanyl and meth, but I'm talking
Yes, sir.
coke, crack, heroin. That stuff, nasty. What it did, nasty.
This wasn't bad, huh? All right.
Jeez. I was trying to get my A effort to you guys.
Tough guy to pull a story out of. The guy just so shy, you know. I mean,
Jack, for Christmas, ask Santa for a personality.
Okay, you got it. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you should see my wife's personality. She keeps me going, man.
oh man, you got to say, don't give a Mick a mic.
Yeah, I know, but but really, really, thank you very much. And I love to do it again with you guys. Honestly, I value friendships like you guys, and you know, like you said, you hit on the nail and have both you gentlemen. But then again, we came out of it, I think, spiritually, emotionally, physically. I got all my 10s and 10s. We're good to go, and you guys as well. And I remember the guys that did it and the gals that did it.
Absolutely right.
My roommate in the academy was killed. That's another story for another day. Yeah,
That's part 2.
yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But
Thank you.
listen, you know, we're blessed all the time, Dan. We say it all the time. You know, the guests that we have on our show and our guests are our shows. Me and you are just kind of hanging out here, acting as guardrails. And when we have people like Jack Mcfarland on to talk about his career and his experiences, it's an honor and a pleasure. And thank you so much, Jack, for being here with us today.
Tom and Dan, thank you very much. I'll hope to see you guys again.
You will. We don't go away.
And we look forward to being in the same place as you at some point in the near future and breaking bread with you and telling more stories because I could tell I could do this with you all night. All night.
I love it. Me too. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely.
So this is a time in our show that we say a prayer for our law enforcement officers.
You got it.
Make sure, you know, you just think of them, think of their families, think of what they go through. You see them on the street, give them a wave, say thank you, pat them on the back. Our law enforcement officers, our first responders, our military, keep them all in your prayers because they need all of them with what they do. Volunteer to do every single day to make sure we're okay, protect us, protect our families. Keep them in your prayers. For Gold Shields and Jack Mcfarland and my partner, Dan Murphy, this is Tom Smith. Make sure, check us out on all our audio channels, youtube.com/@goldshields and our website, thegoldshieldshow.com. Don't go anywhere. We got overtime coming up right after this. See everybody soon.
Time for the OT, the overtime here on Gold Shields. Tom, what do cops love?
Overtime.
Well, pays the bills, does it?
Only thing we love.
Well, it's one of the things that we love. Yeah. We like when it comes in a check. We don't like doing it.
Right. Exactly. You know
Great
what?
discussion.
You know, when you have a guy who loved what he did, I mean, it's not even you know what, we've had, you know, it was rough, it was tough, it was this. Yeah, all that, but you hear it in his voice and see it in his eyes and his mannerisms. Loved every part of his job.
He did, and he still has an enthusiasm for it. He still wants to talk with people. He wants to be helpful. He wants to speak. I could tell he would probably speak to any academy class or any tactical class anywhere to give him his personal firsthand what he learned the hard way and some of what he learned through other trainers as well. Just a great, good-hearted guy. What a guy, Jack Mcfarland.
Just a good-hearted guy. You're right. And, you know, his story, and you know what? The one thing I got, and maybe, you know, let me know if you did the same thing. Every stories are great. Okay. And we hear how many endless stories that we've heard. All of his had a point. You know, it wasn't just, hey, we did this, we rolled on a guy and we shot that. It was all a point of the training, the camaraderie, the mission, you know, all that. All his stories were so cool because they all meant something.
yeah, this is what we learned. This is
Yeah.
what I learned. I made a mistake on this. You know, he's very humble, you can tell, but gave a lot of credit, as the great ones always do, to the people he worked with. He's surrounded by great teams and great people, and that's what brings you home.
Right.
That's
And
what
how
you
many
do.
times we said it? You know, me and you both, Dan, you know, we could get medals, awards, promotions, all that crap. And there was not one thing me and you separately did alone. Nothing. Ever. You
Always
with your
collaborative.
partner, me and you together did stuff. You know, you never do anything alone in this profession. You don't. Yeah. And, you know, when he talks about it, brought your memories back, of field teams and listening to a Kel and something's wrong, or you get just the word to move in, and the crazy controlled chaos that is, you know, when you get in there.
And, you know, he kind of downplayed a little bit, but I just want the audience to understand that this is working in DEA, and I was blessed to be in a task force for a few years. If you're in an active group, and he was in an active group in Philadelphia, and then he went to an active island, St. Croix, which is not sitting on the beach, like you said. There's big weight stuff moving through there, lots of crime, lots of shootings, all kinds of crazy stuff, because it's all got to make its way to America. So he's the linebacker, as he said. I love that analogy. But the high level of stress that comes along with constantly dealing with undercovers, dealing with informants, dealing with subjects, trying to strategize, dealing with the U.S. attorney and keeping re-upping your wiretaps and getting your surveillance teams. When you're a case agent, you've got a million things on your mind. And then you think you're going home that night, you get a phone call. A guy wants to, you know, he wants to move 5 keys or something like that. You got to go out. You got to get the money ready. It's a lot of work, a lot of details, and a lot of things can go wrong. So you've got to be on top of your game all the time. And it's a lot of stress. And I asked him that question because I was curious, because some people will tell you, hey, you know, the reason why I went and did this after that or whatever, or reason why I took up this as a hobby, because it's more stress than people understand.
Oh God, great point. I mean, it is. It's a great point you just brought up, because you're not off. Your brain does not shut off when you're in the middle of what they go through. You know, our brains didn't shut off doing, you know, street level long-term cases in the Bronx, you know, much less an international drug ring that you have 100 moving parts. You don't take a day off, and your brain, if you happen to be off, your brain's not off, you know, and that builds up after a while. And to have the personality he has and the attitude he has over the years, he would go back to work tomorrow.
He would. You could tell.
In a minute.
And you know the story he told about doing the undercover piece where the guy sticks the gun, he mistakenly put the money in the trunk of the car, and he learned a lesson. He learned it with a gun to his ribs, but he talks about the field team coming like a cavalry, and that's what we did. And it's the same everywhere across America. Law enforcement agents backing up an undercover, you go through walls to get to them. You do whatever you have to do to get to them. And in that case, I like how he described it when they took the guy down.
Oh yeah. Yep. Bada boom,
Yeah.
bada bang, bada whatever.
Yeah, something happened to him. Let's say he fell. But no, he was an amazing guy to talk to. Can't wait to talk to him again. But he's indicative of the level of professionalism, dedication, and excitement and enthusiasm so many people have for this job, and I'll call it this job as a generalized look at law enforcement, protecting people, cleaning up neighborhoods, taking out the guy in the house that's ruining the neighborhood, you know?
And the DEA is badasses. I mean, they are
Cowboys.
man, they, you know, hid doors, surveillance. I mean, they are absolute professionals at what they did. And if you got hooked up with them, it would mean you did, you know, on during our careers, and you know, being on the task force was always a good time. Gentlemen, you know, the women who were there, just all pros and quietly, how do I say this? Quiet experts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does, because they're dedicated and focused on one thing. And usually he talked about groups being broken up into groups, like in New York, Group 41, Group 20, whatever. And they all have a different mission. And some of them have the same mission, several groups, but you're focused intently on that, and you become an expert on who's moving what the prices are, what the packaging is, where it's coming, how the money's being laundered, all of it. They know all of it. You sit down with one of them, your head spins, because they listen to wiretaps and they talk to informants and they do surveillance and they gain intelligence and they know a lot.
I remember
Cool.
when we were doing Carlos's case, and we were working with the DEA in DETF, and we were doing kilo buys. We had to get in every morning, make a phone call to see what the price of a key was, because it was like the stock market, changed every day. And if you didn't know, or the undercovers didn't know that price going in, that was a problem, because the bad guys knew what it was.
Well, you think about it's a commodity, right? So it's supply and demand. And if you are the guy in the Bronx that's getting 5 kilos or 10 kilos at a time from somebody in Queens who's getting it from somebody in Cali, well, he's responsible for it. If somebody gets popped along the line, that money has still got to make its way back down to Cali. They don't give a damn.
They don't care.
Somebody took 100 keys off, you owe us more.
That's right.
I don't care.
Right.
Or people die. So they have to pass that along to the end user. So now instead of 20,000, it's going to be 25,000 for this week until we make it up. The nature of the beast. You're right. You've got to be ears to the ground all the time.
And they were. And that's why they're so good at what they do. And I don't even think they get enough credit for what they do. You
They
don't
don't.
see the FBI, all that. The DEA doesn't get enough credit for what they do.
I don't think so. They don't. They lose the battles all the time to the FBI. Under DOJ, the FBI gets first preference and everything.
But they're good. They're
great people.
And Jack's the epitome of that. We're lucky to have him again. Dan, who's our great sponsor for our overtime segment? Give him a hit.
Yeah, this is going to be Fairline. FairlineServices.com. Fairline Services, when you want the best security services, armed, unarmed, surveillance, executive protection, a wide variety of services. They're based in the upper Midwest. They're moving all across the country. They have top-level people. You're going to get great people at Fairline. Check it out if you or your organization has any needs, whether it's one person or you need a standing army. FairlineServices.com. You won't go wrong.
Outstanding. All right, another great show, Danny. Again, owe it to a lot of people other than me and you.
No, we're not done without our small but mighty team behind us. So thank you to everyone.
It's just great. Thanks to everybody. Again, every audio channel, youtube.com/@goldshields, thegoldshieldshow.com. Check us out. Everyone, stay safe out there. Be good. Be careful. We'll see everybody soon.